Hey buddy, watch this.
Hello, Regis Kilbin is the name, and Heroes of the Storm, of course, is the game. And I'm really excited to bring you my first Greymane build. I've been enjoying this hero already. He's so amazing, and he has a number of viable different ways to construct him via his talents. So I have a few different builds I'm actually going to propose right away with Greymane. The first of which is this, which I'm calling the Shadow Greymane build. Now this build is really taking advantage of his dual nature, both human and wolf form, and capitalizing on that to give you a hero who's incredibly good at ganking, but also at getting away safely. So this is a character who can really hard engage, do a lot of damage in a quick burst, and then get back out safely. This is not a bruiser Greymane that's going to be staying in the fight and swinging for a really long time and relying on sustain or healing. Greymane can kind of do that, but he's a little bit susceptible because he doesn't have any of his own self-sustain. So this build focuses instead on getting in and getting out and contributing in bursts and finding a rhythm with your leap abilities, essentially, that allows you to attack, disengage, attack, disengage, attack, disengage, and kind of become a nightmare that's a wolf from the shadows that torments your enemies, and they never quite know exactly when or from where you're going to strike. And that's why I call this the Shadow Greymane build. So real quickly, I want to run through each of the talents, and then we'll get to them in more detail shortly. So up first is Wolfheart, then Eyes in the Dark, Wisin Duelist, Marked for the Kill, Running Wild, Alpha Killer, and then finally at level 20, Tooth and Claw. So now let's go into a little more detail. Up first is the talent Wolfheart. So the way this works is that while Inner Beast is active, that's our W, which is a toggle ability. While that's active, each basic attack during that time lowers the cooldown of this ability by 1 second. So you can see that Inner Beast has a 16-second cooldown. And because we're going to be in and out, in and out, in and out with our fights, 16 seconds is an awful long time to wait, because we want to get in for 4 or 5 seconds, get out, come back in 5 seconds. So this won't always be up when you need it. So we don't need a talent like Viciousness, which actually helps you increase the duration of Inner Beast, because we don't want to be there that long anyway. So instead, this one, while we're in there for that 3 seconds while Inner Beast is active, or 5 or 10, however long you're safe before you need to disengage with your E, it's actually lowering the cooldown for the next time, so you're ready to go that much sooner. So we can see this in action. It's a 16-second cooldown. That's pretty long for a basic ability. But as we activate it and we start attacking, each time we attack, it's lowering that cooldown by 1 second. See, we had an 11-second cooldown, so we must have gotten 5 attacks off during that period. So it basically just ensures that since you're going to be disengaging and you can't just string on your combos with Inner Beast forever, that when you do finally pop back into the fight, that your Inner Beast is ready to go immediately again. Up next, at level 4, we have the talent Eyes in the Dark. So this, anytime you disengage, which is the version of E that you'll be in, let's get into E here to see this. So now we're in Worgen form. Now anytime we disengage, this will grant us stealth for 4 seconds, so you can see that we are invised. Now again, this is another talent that supports the shadow nature of this build. We want to be able to disengage and not just gain distance, which often isn't enough to keep us alive, but we also want to be able to get away and position ourselves in a way that sets us up for the next engagement. So instead of them believing we're here, we can work our way around the tree and come in ready for the flank once again and jump right back in with the wolf. So Eyes in the Dark is really the talent that sets up the ganky, engage, disengage rhythm of this build. Moving on to level 7. Wisin Duelist. This is essentially gathering power for Greymane. Hero takedowns increase your basic attack damage by 3% to a maximum of 30%. This bonus is lost on death. So while we're alive, we gain stacks. Right now we've gained 3 stacks apparently from killing Arthas here in try mode, which is a 9% bonus attack damage. The way this build works, we have to do our damage quickly and efficiently. We can't just stand there and beat on people forever. So Wisin Duelist, if you actually do get those stacks pretty high, you'll absolutely shred through people with your basic attacks. And hopefully, with the nature of this build that's in and out, you're not going to be dying too often or too regularly, since you have a health pool to work with, you have disengages to work with, you have the stealth to work with. Hopefully you'll be able to maintain your Wisin Duelist stacks more often than not. And the other two talents in this tier, they're actually both pretty decent and give you some range utility. But I like the potential of Wisin Duelist, that if you're playing well, things are going right, you're utilizing this build to its fullest, this one will give you the most maximum output and allow you to kill people like crazy. A 30% bonus is huge because Greymane at level, we were at level 20. Let's go back to 20 just to standardize this. He's already hitting for 480 with just 3 stacks. So you can see if we continue to add on, it's going to be crazy. Okay, so now we'll move on to our level 10 heroic ability. We're going to take Marked for the Kill. This allows you to shapeshift into a human and fire a shot that hits the first enemy hero for 149 damage, which admittedly is very, very little for level 20, but it does a couple other cool things. For 5 seconds, that target becomes vulnerable, taking 25% additional damage, so it's somewhat like a Tyranda's Hunter's Mark on a much longer cooldown. But there's one last trick. You can reactivate this heroic ability to leap to that target, shapeshifting into a Worgen. So essentially hard engaging with your big damage in Worgen form, allowing you to kind of jump the enemy back line, pick out a single target, because you'll notice the range on Mark for the Kills is very long. So as long as you're flanking and can find an angle and you can actually hit this skill shot, because it is a little difficult to hit, it has a somewhat slow travel time. So you'll have to be pretty precise and time this right. But when you do, and you can jump into that enemy back line, and then disengage as hard as you want with Eyes in the Dark and all the other tools that we have. This gives you an insane tool to pick off like that Lieutenant Morales or the Tyrande that's in the back that's causing your team chaos but nobody else can quite get to. You're the perfect answer to that kind of play. Not to mention you have other ways to reach a back line with your standard Q, and of course your normal engage with Dark Flight. So again, it's just something that fits the shadowy, ganky nature of the Shadow Greymane build. So let's actually see that in action as well. I just want to show you this if you haven't seen it quite yet. It's pretty neat. We'll see if we can hit Arthas here. Hopefully we don't miss. That'd be embarrassing. Yeah. So see, he's vulnerable. I've got some time. Even if I move pretty far away, I can actually jump right back in and just start causing chaos. So it's a pretty fantastic ultimate. And Go for the Throat sounds like it has the potential to do lots of damage and gank as well, but its damage is significant, but it's not that fantastic, and it kind of reinforces someone who gets into the fight and stays in the fight. I like this one better because it just gives you a little bit more finesse and grace with when you engage, how hard you engage, and allows you to pick off a single target instead of trying to stay in the fight and really go nuts. So moving on to level 13, we're going to choose the target Running Wild. This increases Dark Flight and disengages range by 35%. So we actually don't need minions. We can just use the target dummy. You'll see that right now our disengage, it's a decent little range. It's nice to have a little bit extra because enemies can see you go into the disengage animation and have some idea where you're landing. They don't always know, but you don't want to have a blizzard here. So any extra range you can buy yourself, just gives you that little bit more reliability when escaping. And of course, having the range on Dark Flight when you're engaging is nice too. You don't have to get quite as aggressive before you make your move, so you can kind of dance around the enemy front line. Just maybe take 1 or 2 steps in and then get off the jump right at the key moment instead of having to move in pretty close to your target and making yourself susceptible to stuns or damage that you can't quite handle as Greymane. So the extra range, 35%, doesn't sound like a lot, but given the standard ranges on a variety of abilities and Greymane's own abilities, it's actually a pretty significant difference. It kind of gets you over the hump in terms of being susceptible to stuff. So don't undervalue the impact Running Wild can have on making you a better ganker. Up next at level 16, we are going to choose Alpha Killer. Your Worgen basic attacks, so while we're in Worgen form, against heroes deal a bonus damage equal to 3% of the hero's maximum health. So this is just Giant Killer with a nice new logo and a nice new name, but it is important again. We do want to be able to pump out as much damage as we can as quickly as we can while we're engaging. So this isn't necessarily great against those backline targets with low health, But in the instances where you do have to duel somebody, or if they have like a meteor healer like an Uther or maybe a Rhaegar, this can help pump out a little bit extra damage. And of course 3% is nothing to scoff at, even if you're killing a pretty low health hero as well. So it does just give you that extra damage right when you need it, when you're attacking heroes and you're hard engaging. And then finally at level 20, we're going to choose Tooth and Claw. Worgen basic attacks cleave for 100% damage. This is actually insane to see in action. If we hit a minion wave here, we probably saw a teaser of it earlier, but all of your basic attacks hit everything around you for full damage. So if we stand in the middle here, look at this, we're just destroying this minion wave for 423 damage a pop. So since we're not in a fight for a long time, we want to get as much damage out as quickly as we can. So when we jump on that Tyrande and she's got like 2 people next to her, suddenly you're hitting all 3. Just 2 or 3 swings is going to chop away huge chunks of their health, allowing you to totally soften up the enemy team, help your allies finish it off while you're just running away in stealth and coming back for round 2 right in just a few seconds. So Tooth and Claw is crazy. It makes you better at wave clear. It makes you better in objective battles where everything's kind of clumped together. It makes you better in chaotic team fights because you're just going to add in a little bit of extra damage. It just gives you so much consistent, reliable, big time damage because your auto attacks do already hit so hard. And the other talents here, like Ganker Roulette, that upgrades your heroic, it's a little bit more hard to use because you don't always want to be jumping from enemy to enemy, and it's somewhat hard to line up multiple heroes in a single shot. So just from a reliability and consistency standpoint, Ganker Roulette kind of falls secondary to Tooth and Claw. And we do want to focus on our Worgen attacks, so Tooth and Claw feels a little bit better than Hunter's Blunderbuss at this tier as well. So there you have it. That is my Shadow Greymane build. He's like a little bit Zertaul, a little bit Thrall, a little bit Kerrigan. He can kind of do a little of everything. He's insanely powerful and scary. If this build works well and you don't get stun locked out, or you're playing the right compositions, you can take crazy advantage of this build and make some insanely big plays. So one more time, that's Wolfheart, Eyes in the Dark, Wisin Duelist, Marked for the Kill, Running Wild, Alpha Killer, and then finally Tooth and Claw. I hope you enjoy the Shadow Greymane build. I know I certainly am. It's just a ton of fun. Good luck out there on the ranked ladder. Have fun playing Greymane. Maybe just keep him in quick match for a few days till you learn him. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, game on.